A chance encounter. Marcus Castellano wiped down the marble counter of Bellissimo restaurant for the third time that evening, his hands moving in practiced circles while his mind wandered elsewhere. At 28 years old, he had worked at the upscale Italian restaurant for nearly 5 years, starting as a dishwasher and gradually working his way up to head waiter. The journey had been long and humbling, but Marcus took pride in every step of his progress. The restaurant sat in the heart of the city's most prestigious district, where polished silverware gleamed under crystal chandeliers and wealthy patrons discussed business deals over bottles of wine that cost more than Marcus's monthly rent. He had grown comfortable in this world of luxury, even though he knew he would always be an observer rather than a participant. His simple apartment in the working-class neighborhood across town reminded him every night of the vast distance between his life and the lives of the people he served. Marcus adjusted his crisp white shirt and straightened his black bow tie, preparing for another busy Friday evening. The restaurant would soon fill with the usual crowd of business executives, society ladies, and influential families who treated Bellissimo as their second dining room. He had learned to blend into the background, to anticipate needs before they were spoken, and to maintain the perfect balance of attentiveness without intrusion. The owner's daughter. It was during a particularly hectic lunch service 3 months ago that Marcus first truly noticed Isabella Romano. Of course, he had seen her before. She was the daughter of Giovanni Romano, the restaurant's owner and a successful businessman with connections throughout the city. But on that spring afternoon, something had shifted in Marcus's perception. Isabella had entered the restaurant wearing a simple cream-colored dress, her chestnut hair catching the afternoon sunlight that streamed through the tall windows. She moved with natural grace, stopping to greet staff members by name and asking about their families with genuine interest. Unlike many wealthy patrons who barely acknowledged the servers, Isabella saw them as people rather than invisible hands delivering food. Marcus had been carrying a tray of desserts when their eyes met across the dining room. She had smiled at him, a warm and authentic smile that made his heart skip unexpectedly. From that moment, he found himself watching for her visits, learning her preferences, and volunteering to serve her table whenever she dined at the restaurant. Isabella came to Bellissimo twice a week, usually for lunch with friends or to discuss charity work she was involved in. Marcus learned through careful observation that she dedicated much of her time to volunteering at community centers and organizing fundraising events for various causes. She was studying art history at the university, while also helping her father manage some of the restaurant's community outreach programs. The daily routine Marcus, as mornings began at dawn in his small studio apartment. He would make coffee in his tiny kitchen, review his schedule, and mentally prepare for the day ahead. The commute to the restaurant took 40 minutes by bus, giving him time to read or simply watch the city transform from residential neighborhoods to gleaming business districts. At the restaurant, Marcus took pride in his work. He knew every item on the menu, could recommend wine pairings with confidence, and had mastered the art of reading customers' moods and adjusting his service accordingly. His colleagues respected his work ethic, and even the demanding head chef Antonio rarely found fault with Marcus's timing or attention to detail. But beneath his professional exterior, Marcus harbored dreams that seemed impossibly distant. He attended night classes at the community college, slowly working toward a business degree. His notebook filled with ideas for his own restaurant someday, a place that would honor his Italian grandmother's recipes while making fine dining accessible to working families like his own. Isabella represented everything Marcus admired, but felt he could never attain. She moved through the world with the confidence of someone who had never doubted her place in it. She spoke multiple languages, traveled extensively, and discussed art and literature with the ease of someone raised, surrounded by culture and education. The announcement on a warm September evening. Giovanni Romano gathered the restaurant staff for an announcement. The annual charity gala, Bellissimo's most prestigious event, would be held in 4 weeks. The gala raised funds for local youth programs and attracted the city's most influential citizens. It was always held in the restaurant's private ballroom, which was transformed into a magical space with elaborate decorations, live music, and gourmet cuisine. Marcus had worked the gala for the past 3 years, but always in the kitchen or managing behind-the-scenes logistics. This year, Giovanni announced, would be different. The most experienced servers would work the floor, interacting directly with guests. Marcus was among those selected, a recognition of his years of dedicated service. As the staff dispersed after the meeting, Marcus's mind raced with possibilities. The gala represented the pinnacle of society gatherings, where business deals were made and social connections forged. For someone like Marcus, it was simply another work assignment, albeit a prestigious one. But then Giovanni added one more detail. All staff members working the gala would be permitted to bring a guest for the final hour of the evening, after the formal program concluded and the atmosphere became more relaxed. It was a tradition Giovanni had started to show appreciation for his employees' hard work. The growing courage over the following weeks, Marcus found himself thinking constantly about the gala and the guest invitation. His practical mind told him to invite his mother or his sister Maria, who would both enjoy the elegant evening. But his heart kept returning to the impossible fantasy of inviting Isabella. The idea seemed absurd. Isabella was the owner's daughter, accustomed to escorting and being escorted by successful businessmen, accomplished professionals, and society figures. What could Marcus possibly offer her? He was a waiter with big dreams but limited means. Someone who saved for months to afford a decent suit. Yet every time Isabella visited the restaurant, Marcus felt the growing certainty that he had to at least try. There was something in the way she looked at him sometimes, a momentary connection that suggested she saw him as more than just the man who served her lunch. When she thanked him for his service, her eyes held genuine warmth. When she asked about his day, she seemed to actually care about his answer. Marcus began preparing himself mentally for the possibility of rejection. He rehearsed different approaches, imagining scenarios where he might casually mention the gala and gauge her interest. But each time he came close to speaking, his courage failed him. The risk seemed too great, the potential embarrassment too painful. The decisive moment, it was exactly 2 weeks before the gala when Marcus finally found his moment. Isabella had come for lunch alone, choosing a quiet table near the window where she could work on her laptop while enjoying her meal. The restaurant was unusually quiet for a Tuesday afternoon, with only a handful of tables occupied. Marcus approached her table to refill her water glass, his heart pounding so loudly he was certain she must hear it. Isabella looked up from her computer and smiled at him with that warm expression that had captivated him months ago. "Thank you, Marcus," she said, using his name as she always did. "The pasta today was exceptional. Please give my compliments to Antonio. This was it, the moment Marcus had been preparing for, the chance that might never come again." He cleared his throat, his carefully rehearsed words suddenly feeling inadequate. "Miss Romano, I wonder if I might ask you something," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. Isabella closed her laptop, giving him her full attention. "Of course. What is it?" Marcus took a deep breath. "The annual charity gala is in 2 weeks. As you probably know, your father has graciously allowed staff members to bring guests for the final portion of the evening. I was wondering if you might consider attending as my guest." The words hung in the air between them. Marcus felt as if time had stopped, his entire future balanced on her response. He saw surprise flash across Isabella's face, followed by something else he couldn't quite identify. "You want me to attend the gala as your guest?" she asked slowly, as if making sure she had understood correctly. Marcus nodded, no longer trusting his voice. He watched her expression carefully, prepared for the polite refusal that would surely come. But Isabella's face broke into a radiant smile that seemed to light up the entire restaurant. "Marcus, I would be honored to attend the gala with you." Preparation and anticipation. The 2 weeks between Isabella's acceptance and the gala passed in a blur of nervous excitement and careful preparation for Marcus. He withdrew a significant portion of his savings to purchase a proper tuxedo, reasoning that this investment in his appearance was worth every penny. The salesman at the formal wear shop helped him select a classic black tuxedo with subtle modern details that fit his lean frame perfectly. Marcus's sister Maria insisted on helping him prepare, offering advice on everything from cologne selection to conversation topics. She was thrilled about his date with Isabella, seeing it as a sign that her brother was finally taking chances on happiness rather than just security. "You deserve this, Marcus," Maria told him while helping him practice tying his bow tie for the 10th time. "You work so hard and you're one of the kindest people I know." Isabella must see that too, or she wouldn't have said yes. Meanwhile, across town in her family's elegant home, Isabella faced different challenges. Her father had been shocked when she told him about Marcus's invitation and her acceptance. Giovanni Romano had always imagined his daughter with someone from their social circle, someone with family connections and business prospects that could benefit the family's interests. "Isabella, I don't understand," Giovanni had said, his expression troubled. "You could attend the gala with Antonio's son, the lawyer, or with the Marchetti boy who's taking over his father's investment firm. Why would you go with a waiter?" Isabella had stood her ground with quiet determination. "Because Marcus had the courage to ask me, Papa. Because he sees me as a person, not as a business opportunity. And because I genuinely like him." Her mother, Sophia, had been more supportive, recognizing something in her daughter's eyes that reminded her of her own youth when she had chosen love over social expectation. "Let her make her own choices, Giovanni," Sophia had counseled. "Perhaps we should trust that we raised her with good judgment." Transformation and excitement. On the evening of the gala, Marcus arrived at the restaurant 3 hours early to help with final preparations. The private ballroom had been transformed into a magnificent space with hundreds of white roses, elegant lighting, and tables draped in ivory linens with gold accents. A string quartet practiced in the corner, while caterers arranged elaborate displays of hors d'oeuvres. Antonio found Marcus nervously adjusting the same flower arrangement for the 3rd time. "Relax, my friend," the chef said with uncharacteristic gentleness. "You've worked harder than anyone to deserve this evening. Now go get ready and try to enjoy yourself." Marcus changed into his tuxedo in the staff locker room, his hands slightly shaking as he fastened his cufflinks. He barely recognized the man staring back at him from the mirror. The well-fitted tuxedo and his carefully groomed appearance made him look like he belonged in this world of elegance and sophistication. Isabella was getting ready in her childhood bedroom, surrounded by dresses her mother had suggested, but she had chosen something different, a stunning sapphire blue gown that she had purchased herself, one that made her feel confident and beautiful without trying to be something she wasn't. As she looked at her reflection, Isabella felt a flutter of excitement mixed with nervousness. This wasn't just another society event with predictable conversations and obligatory dances. Tonight felt different, charged with possibility and the thrill of choosing her own path rather than following the expected one. The arrival Marcus waited at the designated meeting point near the restaurant's entrance, checking his watch every few minutes. Guests were already arriving for the gala, their expensive cars pulling up to the red carpet entrance. He felt increasingly out of place, wondering if he had made a terrible mistake. Then Isabella appeared, and every doubt vanished from Marcus's mind. She moved toward him with graceful confidence, her sapphire gown catching the evening light and making her look like she had stepped out of a dream. Her chestnut hair fell in soft waves around her shoulders, and her smile was warm and genuine as she approached him. "Marcus," she said softly, her eyes taking in his appearance with obvious approval. "You look wonderful." "Isabella, you're absolutely beautiful," Marcus replied, finding his voice despite his nervousness. He offered his arm, and she took it naturally, as if they had done this 1,000 times before. As they entered the ballroom together, Marcus felt the weight of dozens of eyes turning toward them. He heard the whispers starting, saw the surprised expressions on familiar faces. Giovanni Romano's expression was carefully neutral, though Marcus caught the flash of concern in the older man's eyes. But Isabella seemed completely unbothered by the attention. She greeted people warmly, introduced Marcus with pride rather than hesitation, and moved through the crowd as if daring anyone to question her choice. Meaningful connections. The evening unfolded with unexpected magic. Marcus had worried that he would feel out of place among the wealthy and influential guests, but Isabella's presence gave him confidence. She guided conversations naturally, asking him questions that allowed him to share his dreams and ideas without feeling inferior. They spoke about his grandmother's recipes and his vision for a restaurant that would honor traditional Italian cuisine while making it accessible to diverse communities. Isabella listened with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions and making suggestions that showed she understood both the business and emotional aspects of his dream. "You have real passion for this," Isabella observed as they stood near the dessert display. "That's more valuable than inherited connections or family money. Passion is what creates something authentic." Marcus found himself opening up in ways he rarely did, sharing his experiences of working his way through school and supporting his family while pursuing his education. He expected to see pity or discomfort in Isabella's eyes, but instead he saw respect and admiration. "That takes real strength," she said quietly. "I've had every advantage handed to me. Sometimes I wonder what I would be capable of if I had to build everything from nothing like you're doing." The dance. When the orchestra began playing, Marcus felt a moment of panic. He had taken a few dance lessons in preparation, but he was far from expert. Isabella seemed to sense his hesitation. "Would you like to dance?" she asked gently. "I promise not to judge if you step on my toes." On the dance floor, surrounded by couples who had been waltzing at society events since childhood, Marcus and Isabella moved together with surprising harmony. He held her carefully, conscious of every step, while she followed his lead with patient grace. "You're doing wonderfully," Isabella whispered as they swayed to the music. "Just relax and enjoy the moment." As they danced, Marcus felt the last of his nervousness fade away. This wasn't about impressing anyone or proving he belonged. This was about two people connecting authentically, finding something real amid all the superficial glamour surrounding them. "Thank you for inviting me tonight," Isabella said, her voice soft enough that only Marcus could hear. "I've been to dozens of these events, but I've never enjoyed one as much as this." "Thank you for saying yes," Marcus replied. "You could have chosen anyone, and you chose to take a chance on me." Isabella pulled back slightly to look into his eyes. "Marcus, you're not a chance or a risk. You're someone genuine in a world that often values appearance over authenticity. That's rare and precious." The confrontation, the moment of peace, was interrupted when Giovanni Romano approached them as the song ended. His expression was serious, and Marcus felt his stomach tighten with apprehension. "Isabella, may I speak with you privately?" Giovanni asked, his tone making it clear this was not really a question. "Anything you need to say to me can be said in front of Marcus," Isabella replied firmly, her hand finding Marcus's and squeezing gently. Giovanni's eyes moved between his daughter and Marcus, clearly struggling with something. Finally, he sighed deeply and spoke directly to Marcus. "Young man, I need to know your intentions toward my daughter. This isn't just about one evening. I see how she looks at you, and I recognize that look because I saw it in her mother's eyes when we first met." Marcus straightened his shoulders, meeting Giovanni's gaze directly. "Sir, I respect your daughter tremendously. My intentions are only to get to know her better and see where our connection might lead. I can't offer her wealth or social status, but I can promise to always treat her with respect and honesty." Giovanni studied Marcus for a long moment. Then something unexpected happened. His stern expression softened, and he actually smiled. "You know, Marcus, when I started this restaurant 30 years ago, I was in your position. I was a line cook who fell in love with the daughter of the restaurant owner where I worked. Everyone told Sophia's father I wasn't good enough for her, that I had nothing to offer but dreams and determination." Isabella gasped slightly, hearing a story she had never known. "Papa, I didn't know that." "Your grandfather eventually gave me his blessing, but only after I proved I was serious about building something meaningful," Giovanni continued. "He saw that I wasn't intimidated by the challenge of earning my place. He respected that I was willing to work for what I wanted." Giovanni turned back to Marcus. "I see that same determination in you. For 3 years, you've been one of my most reliable employees. You arrive early, stay late, and treat everyone with respect. Antonio tells me you're taking business courses at night. That shows character. The revelation. There's something else you should know, Giovanni said, pulling an envelope from his jacket pocket. I've been planning to expand Bellissimo, opening a second location focused on authentic Italian home cooking at accessible prices. I've been searching for the right person to manage this venture, someone who understands both the business and the soul of good food. He handed the envelope to Marcus. This contains a proposal for you to consider. Managing partner position with profit sharing. It would mean long hours and hard work, but it would give you the foundation to build your own success. Marcus opened the envelope with shaking hands, unable to believe what he was reading. The terms were generous, the opportunity exactly what he had been dreaming about for years. Sir, I don't know what to say, Marcus stammered, overwhelmed by the unexpected turn of events. Say you'll work as hard for this opportunity as you've worked at everything else in your life, Giovanni replied. And say you'll continue treating my daughter with the respect and genuine care you've shown tonight. Isabella threw her arms around her father, tears of joy streaming down her face. Thank you, Papa. Thank you for understanding. The beginning. As the gala wound down and guests began departing, Marcus and Isabella found themselves alone on the ballroom's terrace, looking out over the city lights. The evening had brought transformations neither of them had anticipated. I can't believe this is happening, Marcus said, still processing everything. When I invited you tonight, I never imagined it would lead to any of this. That's because you invited me for the right reasons, Isabella replied, leaning against the terrace railing beside him. You weren't trying to use me or impress anyone. You just wanted to spend time with me. Marcus turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. Isabella, I want you to know that even if your father hadn't made that offer tonight, I would still consider this evening perfect. Being with you, getting to know you better, that's the real gift. Isabella smiled, her eyes reflecting the city lights. That's exactly why this works, Marcus. You see me for who I am, not for what my family can offer. And I see you, your dreams, your determination, your kindness. That's what matters. They stood together in comfortable silence, both understanding that this was just the beginning of their journey. There would be challenges ahead, adjustments to make, and obstacles to overcome. But they would face them together, building something authentic and meaningful. As Marcus walked Isabella to her car at the end of the evening, she paused before getting in. Same time next week for our first official date? She asked with a playful smile. I'll make a reservation somewhere special, Marcus promised. Actually, Isabella said, touching his cheek gently, I was thinking maybe you could cook for me. I'd love to taste your grandmother's recipes and hear the stories behind them. Marcus felt his heart swell with happiness. She didn't want expensive restaurants or impressive displays. She wanted authenticity, connection, and the real him. It would be my honor, he said softly. As he watched her car drive away, Marcus reflected on how a single moment of courage had transformed his entire life. He had taken a chance, extended an invitation that seemed impossible, and discovered that sometimes the most extraordinary things happen when we dare to reach beyond what seems safe or reasonable. The shy waiter who had nervously asked the restaurant owner's daughter to a gala had found not just romance, but a partner who valued the same things he did: authenticity, hard work, and the courage to build something meaningful together. And in doing so, he had proven that true worth isn't measured by social status or inherited wealth, but by character, determination, and the willingness to see others for who they truly are. No one at that gala had expected what happened that night, least of all Marcus and Isabella themselves. But sometimes the best stories are the ones we never see coming, the ones that remind us that taking chances on genuine connection can lead to magic we never imagined possible.